Ben McKay is a 24-year-old stand-up comedian and dumb little baby boy. And you are listening to his podcast. Each episode, Ben uses Reddit to learn life lessons. Today, Ben talks about
Therapy, number 5, episode 5, Baby Ben podcast. We're back talking therapy this time. If you haven't seen these before, each of these episodes I pick a topic, and then I go on Reddit and I find some stories. I try and learn about it, reflect, become a big grown boy. That might be the worst description I've given on one of these yet, but whatever. I'm not redoing it. Doing therapy stories. I could use it. I could use therapy today. I'm in a bad mood. I'm grumpy. Leafs lost last night. This is going to come out on Wednesday, but it's Sunday right now. Last night was Game 7. The Leafs lost. It's very sad. Wear my Leafs jersey all night. I posted on my Instagram a clip at the beginning of the night. I'm so happy. The game's starting. I'm on stage wearing my Leafs jersey. I'm like, go Leafs, go. And then I posted the cut to the other set of the night after they had lost. Just frowning. Just frowning, bombing, frowning. But whatever. I see a therapist, though. I go to therapy. I think it's good. It's helped me a lot. I like therapy a lot. I like this guy that I go to now. I think therapy, though, you have to want to be into it. Because I remember when I was younger, I think I was 18, maybe 17, 18. I went to therapy by accident. I got tricked, kind of. Like, my mom was seeing a therapist at the time, and then she told me, she was like, my therapist wants to talk to you about me. It'll help my therapy if you can go in. She just has some questions for you, gets her a better sense of, with my life or whatever. And I was like, okay, I guess, Mom, right? So then I went in, but then I get in there, sneak attack. It was about me. This therapist was going on about how I felt. I was like, God damn it, dude. And I just remember being so mad at my mom for doing that. And my mom tried to sit in too. She tried to stay the whole time. She thought she was going to get to just listen to this therapy. I was like, you idiot, Mom. For this, because you did this, I'm going to let you pay for my therapy for years to come, actually. But not with your therapist. That's crazy. But whatever. Therapy is good. You guys should go. I found a bunch of good stories for this one. I did find a bunch of good stories. Some from people who would see therapists. Some from therapists who were talking about their patients, which probably is illegal, right? They're not supposed to. Okay, first one's from a thread of funny therapy stories. Because I used to see this therapist who worked in his open plan apartment. In the middle of one session, I could see over his shoulder that his washing machine suddenly started flooding the room, water and soap bubbles all over the floor. This wasn't like a little leak, but a serious might flood the downstairs apartment type flood. Me, hesitating, therapist, your washing machine is leaking pretty badly. Therapist, not turning around to look. Okay, why does that feel more important for you to notice right now? Me, yeah, I get it, but it's like really bad. Therapist, still not turning around to look. I see. I can check on that after the session. I'm wondering why you were noticing it. Is there something you want to distract from right now? Me, watching horrified as the water spreads across the room. The whole session went on like this, and he didn't turn around to look until the end. And he couldn't really hide his surprise. The next week, he had a new washing machine and apologized for not taking my warning seriously. At least he apologized. I love that. This one really shows how little your therapist thinks of you. Because you're like, oh, heads up, you're getting you get a leak back there. Your washing machine's leaking, and they're like, fucking, okay, crazy. Why? Why do you think? Why do you think we need to talk about that right now? What would you know about washing machines? You're broke. Use the laundromat. And I go, you have a problem back there. And he goes, yeah, okay. Who's the therapist here? I don't need help from you, dumbass. Being a therapist must rock, though. That's pretty sick. 1 week later, there's a new machine already. If I had a laundry machine and it went down, it's go, oh, my landlord's not coming for months, for one. We're doing the laundromat for sure. Why does that feel important for you to notice right now? I would never go back to the therapist if they said that to me. You're trying to help and go, look out, there's a guy behind you. He's coming to stab you with a knife, right? And you go, let's not worry about me right now. You have a problem. I feel like, stab this dumbass. Good lessons. Good lessons to learn from this is therapists are also wrong sometimes. They're not always smarter than you. They don't have to respect you, but find someone that thinks you're like a person still. Yeah, I don't know. In his open plan apartment, that would hurt my feelings. But my therapist, I do Zoom therapy. I do like every 2-3 weeks. I do on Zoom. And a while ago, partway through the session, I was talking, and then the therapist looks to the side. Someone walks into the room. He does these at home. And then he was like, Ben, I got to go. Sorry, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. He hangs up. Then he comes back and he goes, my stupid landlord's showing the place right now. I'm trying to move. And you know what? It is harder to take his advice now because I was certain this guy's a therapist and he doesn't own his house. Like, shit, dude. Maybe, am I your only client? What's going on? I know this is sliding scale therapy, but I feel like you must have had some people who were on the top end. Are we all down here in the $80 an hour category? I'm going to tell my mom to bump up the scale for you. My mom does pay for my therapy, and I do feel guilty about that sometimes. But then I go into therapy, and he's like, your mom's dumb. And I'm like, okay, but don't bite the hand that feeds you here, pal, because she's the one who pays for this. Okay, the next one's from a therapist. It goes, what awkward, funny, embarrassing, unexpected moments have happened during your sessions? Yesterday, I was listening to a client talk and suddenly became aware of a small spider lowering itself from the ceiling directly towards my client. I had to interrupt and grab it with a tissue. We had a good laugh. It made me curious, what other funny, embarrassing moments have happened during your sessions? For example, I had another client who tends to let out semi-audible farts that he doesn't acknowledge, and neither do I. Man, therapists are pretty boring, I think, as people. They're like, oh, there was a spider. It's like, whatever, the spider's in rooms sometimes. But then that they bury the lead, like the main story is the spider one, and then the way better part of this is the farts. Ripping ass in therapy is so funny. I love that because you pay that they can't talk about it, especially in real person one. That you're in a small room with another person. That's so funny. That's worth, even if you don't feel better from these sessions, that if you can just rip ass in session. Especially you go into a small office for the therapist. You're like, man, I just feel like I'm so gross. My body's so gross. Everyone thinks I'm disgusting, right? And then you just start stinking up the office. You bake that office. They can't say anything. They're not going to be like, dude, stop farting, because that's what you're insecure about. Just watching their eyes water up and them trying not be sick while you blow up their office. That's hilarious. That's maybe worth the fee just to see what they'll do to that. Lessons from this one. If you're not getting a lot out of your therapy session, if you feel like it's not going anywhere, throw a couple farts around, see if that changes the atmosphere. Okay, this is another one from a client. This is another from a patient going in. It says, I went to the bathroom right before my session and was wearing a skirt. I pulled my skirt down and sat to pee, not realizing half my skirt was dangling in the toilet and I had peed all over it. I was mortified and panicked. I rinsed it off in the sink and patted it dry as I could. It was a really thick, dark material, so you couldn't tell it was damp, but during the entire session I was inhaling, trying to determine if the room smelled like pee. Thankfully, I wasn't attached to this therapist and switched to someone shortly after the pee incident. You shouldn't feel bad. You pay them. Who cares? This is like the fart thing. Let it stink. They work for you. Therapist definitely noticed also. Going, was probably so relieved when you stopped coming after that, being like, okay, the pee girl's not coming again. I'm glad it worked out for you and you didn't have to sacrifice. It wasn't crazy embarrassing. Seems like you're over it, but I'm glad you didn't lose a therapist that you really liked over this, and because you were too embarrassed. And you didn't need to be embarrassed, but I see what you mean. That you had pee on you. I could see being a little embarrassed about it. But I love this story because that means that there's a chart out there, and it's the last chart. It's because it was your last session with this person. So a file is ended out with with a chart about you, where in the top half of the notes, it's got to say something like, pissed herself, question mark? Googling, do people with low self-esteem piss themselves? That rocks. Lessons from this one. Don't put your skirt in the toilet, dummy. No, there's no lesson from that. That's just cute. But don't let that embarrass you. Who cares? These therapists must see crazy stuff. I always think that when I'm in there, I'm like, well, surely I'm one of his more put together people. That's what I was thinking. He's probably got some real nut cases in here. I'm just a little set. Actually, I don't know. I might be up there. I'm not sure. Okay, number 4. Hey, this one's from another therapist. Therapist says, I was teaching a young client about mindfulness and grounding. We were in the middle of a deep breathing practice, and there was a huge earthquake. I was on the 2nd floor of an old rickety building at the time. I lost my shit. Yeah, oof. That's one way to feel grounded. Have the ground crumble beneath you. Well, I tried to connect with the earth, and God tried to kill me. Those grounding techniques are stupid, I think. Sometimes my therapist does those for me too. If I'm having like a panic attack, I'm losing control a little bit, spiraling. You do this thing to ground you back in the moment. You describe what's going on around you. You do like describe 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you taste, 1 thing you smell, and that's supposed to put you back in the moment, make you feel better. And it does work a little bit, but I've noticed you got to be somewhere nice for that to make you feel better. Like if I'm in my room, I'm feeling like I'm a loser or whatever. Describing this room does not make me feel better about myself. You know what I mean? And you go, what do you see? That'll make you feel better. What do you see? And you go, I see no natural light. I see. Yes, you see this window's half boarded up. This place sucks. It's bright in here. You guys see the bright because I have 3 giant lights pressed on me right now. This is a dark room otherwise. You go, oh, smell your room. That'll make you feel better. Smell it. Smell in here. Smells like cum. From that episode way before where I had the neighbor who said I smelled like teenage hormones coming from my apartment. Dude, she wasn't totally wrong. My room's got a little bit of a funk to it sometimes. My point is, it just doesn't make you feel better to describe my room. Lessons for this. If you want to feel grounded, go to the park or something. See something nice. And I don't know, maybe other lessons. Sometimes God doesn't want you to feel better. He'll throw an earthquake at you if you look for help, and I think that's on you. So number 5, this one's from another therapist. It says, at the psychiatric hospital, a lot of things happened. The most amusing was probably when I was leading a really good group, and one patient came in without saying anything, threw her drink on another staff member, then walked away without saying anything. After she and the staff member left, I used it to talk to the group about how to react in situations where we might get irritated by someone else's actions. I then closed the door to the room and we talked to them about how we were feeling and what had happened. The patients responded quite well. All right. I don't know how amusing that was. My most amusing memory is when a patient assaulted my coworker. That was amusing to me. So where were you leading this group? The psychiatric hospital, or was this Glee? Was this the Glee group? Whipping Slurpees at each other. I know therapists, sometimes they don't get the respect that they deserve because it's sort of, there's a lot of nuance to the profession. It's not such a direct science that sometimes people don't think they're doing that much. And these are the kind of situations where you go, because they're trying to flex like, oh, what a good group leader I am here because I asked everyone how they felt. But like, yeah, I would have known to do that. You know, if you were like, pretend to be a therapist for a few hours, we need you to fill in. The first thing I do, and he goes, and how does that make you feel? That's the stock line, dude. That's day one therapy school. I don't think you're that good. Some lessons here. If you are a therapist and you're running low, your group's going kind of, we're not really breaking through, have an actor come in, whip a Sprite at your least favorite coworker, launch a bottle at someone, and then everyone will come together around that hostility, I think. Good lesson. All right, number 6. I lied my parents about hearing voices as a kid. Genuinely, I don't know why I did this. The lie got super involved. I ended up seeing a neurologist and getting brain scans. But weirdly, they did find unusual brain activity in a place that makes complete sense for auditory hallucinations. Once I went on meds, I pretended I was cured, and my future scans seemed to back that up. I'm still so confused about it. Like, they can't make up an EEG reading. I've never hallucinated in my life. So what are the odds that I was making this up, and it actually ended up showing up on a scan? It's been 20 years, and it still keeps me up at night sometimes. Damn. That's crazy. What are the odds of that? What happened there? I guess maybe they're kind of fucked up you have to be to make up hallucinations. Maybe that shows up on a brain scan the same way as the kind of fucked up that has the actual hallucinations. Maybe that's the same part of your brain that's nuts like that. You go, maybe making them up and telling people that for real is the same as having them in terms of wonkiness in your brain. or maybe the guy reading this also, maybe he was having hallucinations. Maybe that's why he was so interested in this field, and then his got a little out of control. He noticed some on yours and go, whoa, this girl's definitely seeing stuff. Look at that abnormality. And then he came back and he had someone else the next time after you take the meds. That's crazy. What a concerning story. That makes me so, this is the kind of thing you can't be a parent. You'd be so scared. You're like, my kid is having hallucinations. Holy shit. Let's put them on this hardcore medication. That can't be good for kids. You know what I mean? To wrongfully be taking neuro meds. That's spooky. Do you ever tell your parents that after that happens? No, you can't, right? They'll still feel so guilty and they won't trust you. Okay, some lessons from this one. If you ever have the urge to make up a neurological condition, I'd say go for it. Tell people that you have it, because it seems like maybe you could actually have it. Somebody's like, hey man, you owe me $100. I have dementia. I have dementia, right? And then you get tested, you actually have dementia, right? And then it turns out you've had dementia that whole time. And that guy, you didn't even owe him $100. He was just trying to take advantage of you because he knew you wouldn't remember. Follow everything through. That's all I'm saying. Let your intrusive diagnoses, let them ride. Story number 7. Oh, we're flying through these. This one might be another short one. Let me know if you prefer the longer ones or the short ones if you're watching. I'm full honesty, I just got pretty busy this week and I only put together a shorter app, but I'll get back to it. I just had to finish a big project, so moving forward I'll have a bit more time day to day for these probably. Also, I'll be honest, it's hard to put a lot of effort into these. No one watches. Getting 25 views, 2 likes. Go, yeah, I'll stay up. I'll pull an all-nighter for this shit. No, these are fun to make, but once it gets to that, I'm tired. But it's hard to push through. But So if you do like these, fucking tell me. Honestly, I have got some nice feedback from some of these. People were very nice about them, but if more people were, it would make me feel really good. Or if you don't like them, let me know. I'll just stop. Okay, we're back. Card died there. Oh, I wonder if am I gonna edit this out? Am I gonna edit this little card died came back thing? Because I could, dude. I'm great at editing now. DaVinci Resolve, absolutely. Yeah, okay, I'll edit this. All right, just a few stories left. I once did a virtual session while at my parents' place in a very rural town in northern Ontario. I decided to do my session on the deck just outside the kitchen as their place is very open concept and my boyfriend was in class in our bedroom. I got my whole setup ready, my fave cozy tea, a blanket in case I got cold, sunnies in case it got too bright outside, and I opened the porch cover in case it rained. I was so delighted for a cute little session outside. My therapist and I just connected, and I was telling her about my cute little setup when a very unassuming black bear came prancing around the corner and onto the porch and on his way down to the beach. Stopped about 10 meters away from me when he saw me tucked away in the corner. I spooked the absolute shit out of him because I guess he recalibrated like 3 times before zooming away in the other direction. I immediately grabbed my computer and did the rest of the session on the floor in the laundry room. Damn. Maybe bears are attracted to food, obviously, but maybe bears are attracted to food and like vulnerability. He could smell you were getting vulnerable with your therapist. And they go, oh, this one, she's not going to put up much of a fight. I can tell. Listen to her talk about how she thinks her boss is mean to her or whatever. This bitch doesn't. I don't even think she wants to live. This is humane what I'm doing. Or maybe the bear needed some therapy too. Maybe the bear was reaching out for help and then got scared. Was like, I feel the same way. I don't think the other bears respect me, right? And then as it saw you, it was like, It recalibrated 3 times. That's not much of a bear move. That's more of a I'm going to go talk to that person, but I don't know. I love that. Bear wanted some counseling. And you're like, this shit's fucking $200 an hour, pal. Take a hike, dude. I do Zoom. I do the Zoom therapy too. So I do it in my car most of the time. I'll usually go out to my car and, drive somewhere because I got roommates here, right? And I do not want my roommates hearing how much I lie to my therapist. I don't want them in on the web of lies I've strung with Pablo. No, I just kidding. I don't even lie to my therapist. I'm saying that because I'm not sure if he watches this. I wouldn't be surprised. He told me how he likes podcasts, and I was telling him about this podcast. I wonder if as a therapist, when you hear your client being like, yeah, dude, I'm starting a podcast, I really hope it does well. You're like, oh, this kid just basically renewed for another year. That's... This kid's going to stay sad, dude. I was doing it in my car, though. I'll try and park somewhere. One time I was parked on the street. I just went to this little residential cul-de-sac kind of thing, and I was parked kind of in between 2 houses, but no one's moving on this street at all. I'm parked way off to the side. But I was sitting in the car on this cul-de-sac, and I was telling my therapist how sometimes I feel like I let people walk all over me just because I want them to be happy. I want them to like me, so I don't stand up for myself when I need to. And in the middle of that conversation, the lady whose house was right there, came up, knocked on my window. She's like, you can't be here. And I was like, oh, I'm just taking a call for a minute. I'm just going to be on a call. It's okay. I'm on the street. I'm fully allowed to be there. I can't sit on the... She's like, no, you have to leave. This is private property. The road, not private property. But then I looked at my therapist. I looked back at her. This is a perfect opportunity to practice what we've been talking about. So I looked at my therapist. I looked back at her, and I was like, I'm so sorry. You're right. I'm going to get out of here 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm really sorry. It is weird, though, where you'll park. I feel like this came out of COVID a lot, where people will just go park places to do stuff. After having so much time, like especially with these Zoom type meetings or whatever, you see people taking Zoom meetings of any kind all over. Like I work at Enterprise right now in this parking garage. I see guys taking meetings in their car constantly. There's always people doing that. I'll do my therapy in like industrial parking lots a lot of the time. That's where I'll go, where you get bothered the least. But sometimes still a security guard will come up. And one time I was at this warehouse parking lot talking to my therapist, and the security guard came up and he knocked on me and he was like, "Hey, can I help you?" I was like, "Actually, I think he's trying to do it right now, but if this doesn't work, you could give it a shot." I'm actually trying to help myself right now, so if you don't mind getting out of here. Lessons from this, though. Bears are depressed, or they want to eat the depressed. No way to know for sure. And pick your locations for the Zoom therapy. That's pretty important, I think. This one's from a funny therapy moments thread. I had a little one today. I was in the waiting area. There's usually a slow, peaceful sort of tune in the background. Some tedious elevator music, but suddenly it changed to the most upbeat song you've ever heard in your life, about how guests keep arriving and it's sunny and it's bright, and I found it hilarious, but the guy across from me spat out "Jesus Christ" in disgust. I found it ironically funny. He, on the other hand, was not impressed. Sometimes when I go to therapy, I'm like, maybe I don't even need to be here. Maybe this is a waste or whatever, because it's expensive, right? But that's got to be validating. That if you're in the therapy waiting room and a happy song comes on, you out loud go, "Jesus Christ." You go, probably in the right place. I probably should be able to hear a happy song without wanting to assault someone. Also, what else? Of course they're going to play happy music. They should. It's the therapy. They go, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." You can't play sad music in the therapy waiting room. I don't like the idea of a waiting room at all. I've never really done therapy like that. I did that one. I do the Zoom therapy, though, so it's no waiting room. I just log on and he's there. Seeing the other patients would make me feel insecure, I think. I don't know. That would make me feel like me and the therapist have less of a connection, I think, seeing that he's doing this for all these other people, too. Although I do think I'm my therapist's favorite patient, and that's something someone who needs to be in therapy would say, but I take pride in that because I can keep him going over the hour. I've never get him to say, that's our time or whatever. We'll go 75, 80 minutes on the 60-minute session. I don't know. He's a nice guy. If you're watching, don't tell me about it, though, if you're watching. Lessons from this one. Happy songs shouldn't make you sad. And maybe therapists are emotional whores and they really just want your money. So they see your trauma as cash in actuality. Yeah, last one. This one's from another therapist. I remember situations when clients are unintentionally funny and I need to stay collected so they don't feel I'm making fun of them when I'm actually bursting inside. Hell yeah. I love a setup one of these when we go, "This is fully breaking doctor-patient confidentiality." I love that. Okay, this is the good one they listed. One of my teenage clients said, "Doctor, what does it mean when a test is positive? Is that good or bad?" Okay, first off, I don't think they said doctor. Your teen client was like, "Doctor." No, don't teens start sentences like that. "Doctor, how are you today, doctor?" They probably said, "Hey." What does it mean when a test is positive? Is that good or bad? But you kind of want us on Reddit to know that you're a doctor, so you threw that in. Well, it depends on the type of test. For example, when you take an HIV test and it comes back positive, that's bad because it means you have that virus. Damn. Doctor, if I can give you a note here, if you're talking to someone in therapy and they bring up positive, negative test results, there's a lot less stressful examples you could use than HIV. But then the client turns pale. "Oh my God, I think I have THC. Turns out he was drug tested at school. That's tough. I mean, it's a teenager here. But I think if you don't know what testing positive means, if you can't figure that out on your own with help from the doctor, might be time to start testing negative for THC. You might be burning it a little bit too hard, I think. THC does sound like a genital disease, though, doesn't it? If you put an I in front of THC, that's itch, right? ITHC, don't want that, right? That's herpes. That was all the stories. That cheered me up a little bit. I was still a little upset about the Leafs going into this. This perks me up a touch. It was fun though, like always. Let me know something about this. If you like it, if you don't, tell me if you got some stories you want me to read or some ideas for episodes. You can tell me those. Subscribe to this channel. I think that would help a lot with the clips. Share the clips on Instagram. Share the clips on TikTok. It's Big Hair Big Nose on TikTok, or Big Hair Big Nose on Instagram, at BabyBenPod on TikTok. And thanks so much. We'll see you next time.